It's great to meet so many people from such a diverse background of industry. We've got people here from technology industry, we've got people from beauty and health, we've got people here from a wide range of different industries, and I guess we're all interested in the topic today. Certainly being artificial intelligence is something that's become more and more into the mainstream. It's not brand new, but certainly with the introduction of things like ChatGPT, bringing it into our everyday lives, it's certainly being elevated in terms of the discussion. So today, we've got a great panel here, and really my job is just to ask the questions and tease them out and have a great discussion around how these industry leaders, their insights, how they're helping businesses really tackle and adopt some of this technology. And at WorldFirst, we've got a number of values.
Battery's gone.
That's back up mic.
Well, we're sharing microphones anyway, so thank you. I was just going to say that at WorldFirst, we've got a number of different company boundaries, and one of those is change is the only constant. And I can see some of my team laughing at that, but it's very true, right? And it couldn't be more prevalent for the topic today. There's been so much rapid change, and certainly staying up to date with that change and how you can use it in your business it's something that we will learn from different aspects from our panel tonight. So hopefully you'll walk away with at least one thing that you can implement or take away and learn and think about how you that will help your business. So Scott is a strategic sales lead for Square, and most of you may have heard of Square, probably have used most likely use the Square facility. But we'll talk a little bit more about what they do, obviously, today. Edward from Formation is at the forefront of AI. So really looking forward to Edward's insights from the technology perspective, because he's deep into it, not just from payments, but certainly into how the technology can help businesses. Chris from ClickedOn. So Chris provides digital marketing or online marketing support and marketing support in general for businesses, not just locally but internationally as well. So marketing is certainly an area that can be disrupted by some of the technologies. So very keen to hear Chris's insights on what he's seen and how they can help businesses out there in terms of positioning themselves in the marketplace. And finally, but definitely not least, Adrien on the end from Sleep. Adrien, in theory, comes from probably a more traditional industry, right? Certainly the accounting industry and the finance industry where Adrien specialises in. Has also been disrupted, and there's some really great tools and ideas of how businesses can evolve as well. So, in some people's eyes, artificial intelligence is a risk to their business, right?
Yep.
So I guess a question for all of you and to the panel, and ChatGPT is something that obviously we've been talking about a bit. It's been in the mainstream, as I mentioned before. Simple question, really. I mean, good or bad? How do you view it?
I mean, I would say I don't think it's good or bad is probably not the question I'd ask. I think it's here. It's kind of like the car. You got to learn to drive. You can't ignore it. So I'd say you just got to get involved.
Yeah, so I think here is like the most conservative side of the panel. It's really part of like everybody's life now, but it has been around for quite some time. And when I look at my business, so accounting and like doing the tax, obviously if you trust an AI that actually makes a mistake at the end, you're going to make it to one person, your accountant. So as I'm in the business of trust, so I'm not going to let right now an AI that everybody is a bit suspicious about to take my seat. All I'm going to do is that we actually use the AI to have super accountants and super tax advisors to lower down the cost and maximize the efficiency of it. I think in 5 to 10 years, perhaps my side of the business, and I probably be on the other side of the battle. But right now, we're actually adopting the more conservative approach to it.
Yeah, so I think that AI for me is positive. I think that AI in general, and before it was called AI, it was called machine learning, and before that it was called something else. It's been around for a long time. It's just that now it's easier to engage with due to human-based prompts and the machine learning that actually has a large language model on top of it, so you can just type out a box instead of having to write a SQL query or something like that. But it's just democratizing access to this software. It's been around for a long time. Big businesses have been using it. It's moving it down market to small business individuals. It's the next wave of efficiency, in my opinion. It's a sort of like innovation that's actually anti-inflationary. Like we had 20 years ago, the outsourcing of manufacturing into agile, and that decreased inflation a great deal. And now we're getting to the end of that ride where cost is increasing across in that manufacturing. So where do we go next as an industrial revolution? It's machine learning, it's AI, it's people getting more efficient at doing their job. And there's going to be displacement from, low-skilled jobs where it's data entry and uplifting of those jobs into, more important decision-making criteria. And AIs will take care of the basic work. So I think it's more of like an assistant that people should enhance and take ownership of. If your job's going to be completely replaced by AI, you probably need to look at moving to a different industry where you can use AI to do your job. But realistically, it's to Slate's point, it's similar to accounting went through, like before software. You had abacuses, you had humans, you had books, and then you went to sleek software ERP system, and we needed lots less accountants to do the same work, but they do more important work. I think that's exactly what you're going to see across the gauntlet of industries as AI rolls out more broadly. It's not going to necessarily just destroy everyone. It's not going to go to the Terminator state right now. And obviously, more broadly, long term, that is a concern. Like, do robots take the full control? Is there a human in the loop or not? But right now, it's a lot of human in the loop situation. So it's not scary Terminator spec stuff. It's more like, how do we just do twice as much work in one day? And that's really going to help us actually reduce inflation, to be honest, because otherwise, where else are we getting efficiency gains of 50%? Nowhere.
You mean improve productivity? Yes, yeah. So my view is that AI won't take over people's jobs, but I think there's two aspects to it. One is that if you're in an industry where your competitors are leveraging AI and we're not, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
And the second is similar to what you said, is that AI is going to be used to enhance people's productivity, to enhance what they can do, to be able to give them the time or the mental space to be able to do more interesting things, like more creative things that humans are better at. And all the manual processes and all the stuff that's super boring, AI should be able to just hand me.
Fantastic. Certainly some big firms there, right? Job displaced for economic activity, crisis efficiencies, and there's certainly which is causing a lot of big people to think, what's next? What does the future hold for the business? So on that theme, and another question for all the panelists around that, and what do you see as, in particular, what opportunities do you see for the small businesses, either on the global scale, that they can leverage in their businesses when they're doing business going with it? Might start with who wants to take that first.
Adrien, you go.
Yeah. So, for instance, being French, and we arrived in Australia like close to a year ago, and we had to redo our marketing sites, .com/EU. And actually, we've been operating in Asia before that, but so coming to Australia, and we were about to hire the local team for marketing. But before that, we actually wanted to use the site. So what I did was actually to use ChatGPT and ask, hey, can you please translate this to me in Australian slang? And all that works. That's how it started actually. So our first campaign, so we A/B tested like a lot of things. And as soon as we hired a marketing team, they're all definitely like, seriously, you did that? The AI was actually good, but really a bit too extreme in terms of wording. But that's the first thing that you can actually do is to really produce a lot of content when you're actually around on the market.
Yep.
What they're actually after that for solutions that will enhance your efficiency, such as, if I look at the accounting side, Having an app that actually like streamlines your bookkeeping, for instance, can just like, save you heaps of hours. So yeah, it's more like, one, efficiency, and second, how to accelerate your go-to-market with, continuous, essentially, and second, sales.
Yeah. So at Square, we went into AI very heavily, and we target small business, medium business, and large business. But our bread and butter is micro sellers and SME sellers. That's where Square's known. It's where we started our business. It's where we still continue to have the majority of our customer base by volume of customer numbers. In terms of what we see for small business, being able to actually start a new business, start a website, add a photo to your ad, whatever it is, if you can do that with AI, it's enhancing the speed of go-to-market for our customers. By democratizing access to it, what we mean to say is we're building ChatGPT into our products. We have a partnership with OpenAI. It means that you don't need people to go license themselves individually to actually use the technologies based on the platform. So you want to spin up a new web store and you want to have the design done for you, the marketing done for you, the copyright done for you, as well as the photos for your ads done for you. All of that can be done by AI. So in terms of being able to get a small business owner who's one person to be able to act like a company of 5 or 10, that is the big differentiation that we see to be able to, as you said, go global. You want to learn the marketing slang that you want to use for Australia. You can learn how to say mate, or you might like learn how to copyright an ad in Japanese or Chinese. You can actually get it to translate your ad into another language. So there's a lot of ability for a small business operator to get to scale a lot faster using AI than there ever was before. The other thing it's also adding efficiency for is even things like customer service inquiries. They can add a chat bot to their website. They can handle 80% of the inbound requests. They just give them a shipping number or whatever without having a customer service agent in the loop. It's just massive efficiency gains that we're seeing across the board. And we even added that as one of our company priorities for 2023. We had 3 at the start of the year. Now we have 4. Generative AI is one of them. Lastly, we had a Hack Week project in February this year at our company where everyone was given an OpenAI account and encouraged to go and build something with our product stack and using ChatGPT. The outputs of those were insane, from the ability for someone to have one click button to launch an entire business, typing in what they want the business to be, and literally build the business and a price point and a product set and everything, all the way through to just the simple things, like I said, like creating a picture for your website, which we have implemented in real life. The scope is enormous.
Cool. So probably an interesting statistic is as of 2023, this year, there's around about actually more than $200 billion worth of investment into AI and AI platforms.
Yep.
And what we found is, and this is something that might be relevant for small business, there is already a platform or a service or a product for pretty much everything that you want to do. Anything that you want to do, there is already a platform for, and they will only get better over time. So, the opportunity, sort of what you were saying, is to leverage those platforms to be able to act as if you were a much larger company than you already are. And I think that's the opportunity for all of you here. We at Formation, we're a custom software development entity. And traditionally, our target market was people wanting to build websites. Now you can just ask, like ChatGPT, ask an AI to build a website for you. And for us, that means that we need to look at what can we do to elevate ourselves, to bring more value to our customers. And that's why we're looking at AI, and that's why we're heavily investing into AI as well. It's not like the mobile app trend where everyone wanted to build a mobile app, but then no one actually used it.
No.
And it's not like the crypto trend where people were investing in crypto and no one actually really knows what crypto is for. But the what we see with AI is it's just completely different. Like there is a use case for everything.
Where we're finding a lot of value is, I think first you need to have an amazing product. So a lot of people here, I assume, are into kind of e-commerce space. You do got a product that resonates and it works really well in Australia. If you've got a product that works really well in Australia and you know you're hitting this market, with AI, we're finding you can, like as Adrien's saying, go into new markets very quickly. It takes a lot less time. So you can, test and learn. Everyone has ideas of, we think Italy's going to work, or we think we could be successful in Japan with a product. You can quickly scale it up, roll it out in that market, do a test, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, do it in another market. First, you've got to get your product really resonating and your offering working here. But then when you've found a new market, it could be translating the pages, finding what's selling in new markets. So if you're in full supplies, what might work in Australia is very different to what people are looking for in the US, what the top selling products. So using it for insights, using it to quickly roll out, test and lobby is there's something we've been doing, and definitely translation is just amazing. You always need the human lens over it though, because you can always make mistakes. So, but if you're hiring someone at Upwork or someone who's got these skills, it's a lot faster for them to read an article and pick up a few mistakes you've made than to write from scratch. So it might be $10 instead of $200. So that's what it means.
Yeah, I think human in the loop's important in every situation, that you need a human in the loop.
Yeah.
The AIs are not necessarily at the stage yet, but they're going to run your business for you and you want to have it on an island. When it gets to that stage, it'll probably come and take over your island and replace you as well. So maybe we don't want to get to that stage. We don't know.
Hedge guys, definitely. There's a few themes coming through there, right? And particularly for businesses who aren't going global or we're thinking about it, or already are operating in overseas markets, how to scale and optimize. So you do business like a local in that market. Certainly, the technologies around today, from what we're hearing from the panel, can allow you to do that quicker, probably less risk, but still require that human element and that expertise. So certainly the efficiencies in going global. We talk to businesses all the time that are on that journey at different stages of going global, and certainly taking that first step can be quite daunting, particularly in the foreign language, which is the example was spoken about a little bit earlier. It certainly can take away some of that risk and give businesses a bit more comfort about taking that first step overseas. I think the implication for that could be quite good. Thanks for us. First question for you, John. We're talking about the opportunities and how businesses can leverage those to go global or to improve their operational efficiencies, reduce costs. Yeah. But with that can come some risks as well. What are potentially risks that you see for your customers in using some of these tools?
I think one of the biggest risks with these customers using these tools is if they're using the common data model that everyone else is using and it hasn't been updated, in the case of GPT-4, since 2021. It's operating in old context. It's got 2 years or 2.5 years lack of context of current trends, markets, doesn't know about the war in Ukraine, doesn't know about all that stuff. So there's some gaps there where you might actually have some content pushed out that is not accurate. It also has a tendency to do what's called daydreaming, which is where that robot just daydreams and creates some really whack, different stuff that's not what you wanted. So really there's a risk of people not validating the output enough and relying too strongly on the AI model, putting a situation where a human's not in a loop and a customer service robot's giving growing responses to a client, and then it burns your business and destroys you. Not probably the best outcome. You don't want to end up on a current affair because you have a racist chatbot. That's happened to Google, so look out. You, small business, probably can't avoid that. There's a few key risks there you want to be careful of. The opportunity is infinite. You can leverage this anywhere in the business. any business unit in the company can leverage this to have success and make a benefit. If you can increase the efficiency of every staff member in your company by 50%, you have to hire half as many people to grow the company twice as much. So that's a big impact to you guys in terms of cost. The license for AI is going to be a lot cheaper than 100 full-time staff, I guarantee you that. And it's much more scalable as well. The people get more expensive as your business gets more expensive. The more software you buy typically is cheaper for the license. So you get a scale of efficiency by having more AI. I think the other area is that people are convergence of messaging. If everyone's using ChatGPT to create their copyright content, there's a likelihood that everyone's going to have the same website with the same messaging with a very similar spiel to it. And you can ask ChatGPT to iterate a few times, but it's never going to be as creative as an individual. And that's something that we have seen in the real world as well.
Good point, Denver, and great comment there. And yeah, coming up in if everyone has used ChatGPT and actually checked out some of the references in the results that you get, sometimes they don't actually even exist. So, talking about the authenticity and the trust factor of it, what is it telling me? Certainly there's to do a little research.
I'll add one more topic on that, actually, just very good point. There was a situation in America where a guy sued a company and was using ChatGPT as his lawyer, and he was referencing cases that didn't exist. He made them up. He got put in jail. So don't do that.
Wow, I didn't actually hear that, man. I knew about the topic, so yeah, definitely maybe human element to validate at this point. Obviously, the technology is probably going to get better and more accurate over time. And like with most of these things, it depends what you put in. So if you brief it properly and you give enough detail that you're likely to get an output, yeah, the prompts are very important. Edward, moving on to your formation. What are you seeing in terms of in the software industry for your clients as well? So what are some of the things that, and particularly on the risks and the same theme, around for your clients as well?
Yeah, so one of the things that we are looking at, one of the things we've done is a project where we have actually replaced humans. And this is for call centers. So we have call centers. They obviously are, a whole bunch of people taking calls. Those calls are recorded for training purposes. And believe it or not, that actually happens. So the training happens. So people listening in on the recordings of those calls. And they will listen for prompts. They will listen for key phrases, and they will listen for have you asked the right questions? Have you gotten the information that you need? All that kind of stuff. And then they will feed that back to the client. And this is a very, very manual process. So you need people, you need a bank of people to be listening in on these recordings to make those assessments. That was all replaced by AI. How it was done is that the recording was transcribed. So we have an AI that does a speech to text. It works with accents as well. And yeah, it works. I think the accuracy was something like 90-ish%. So we've got the transcript. Now, what we also have is all of the questions, the prompts that are required and to be picked up by the person who would have been analysing this thing. And that was replaced actually by ChatGPT. So what it does is that it picks up the intent of the prompt or of the question in the script, and we basically get it to highlight where that happens in the script, so that we can then produce a report to the human in the loop, who then goes and validates, has the person said the right things, etc., etc. So that's something that would have been, is being done by a lot of actual people, and in the end is replaced by just the people who like right at the end. So just the people who are validating those things. So getting back to the risk is, I think there's an element of trust that you're putting into these systems, and if you trust it too much, like if you don't have that human in the loop, then there is going to be a problem. And I think that with AI, I think there is an assumption that it will replace humans. That it can, and AI can do anything. And I think that the risk, particularly for people who kind of don't know any better, is that they place their full trust in the AI, and they'll come undone because of that.
Wow, it's pretty amazing how, if you think about that technology, right? Having worked in businesses with call centers, amount of time and investment in training, particularly that sometimes they have pretty high turnover. That's quite revolutionary in terms of not just saving time, but also, I guess, the accuracy piece. If you need people to listen to these calls, the hours that are spent, you can really code it in and give that feedback.
Yeah, and it's a very subjective thing as well. So fact is that's taken up by an art.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Chris, there's been a lot of talk about marketing, and that's one industry that a lot of people believe is ripe for disruption, and is in some circles perhaps even under threat. With the technology that we're talking about today, we've spoken about content writing, for example, and getting to write content, in build websites, you can think to do marketing plans if you like that. How do you see that the marketing industry responding to that? It's a good question. I think it is a significant impact in marketing, and most people I speak to are using it in this space. There's going to be a lot of people, if your work quality is low, that in digital marketing you're not going to have a role. But I think there's always going to be a role for extremely skilled people in there. At the moment, for me, ChatGPT and different AIs, probably like a graduate in the team. They've got amazing potential, amazing ability. And at the moment, they're giving inputs that sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. The better thing with ChatGPT or any of these AI tools is you can ask them to do the same work 5-6 times and they don't get annoyed, which is pretty good. And I think repetition with ChatGPT is really important. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's way off the mark. Where it goes in the future, I don't know. I don't. I actually am excited by it though, because it lifts your game up. You want to stay in an industry, you've got to be better than what a computer is. Like, no one wants to do like old-fashioned bookkeeping when you had a ledger. These, that got replaced by calculators. You don't want to be doing that. But amazing business structuring or business advice or going into new industries is the exciting part. So I like what it's bringing to the industry. I think it's taking away a lot of the mundane things.
Grunt work.
Yeah, a lot of the grunt work. And the tips, should I give tips here now of how we're using it? If you would, yeah, definitely. I think the best tips, like, just start using it is probably the first thing. Some of the really simple things we're doing in the e-commerce space is content calendars are great. So you want to know what your marketing plan is going to be. So if you go to ChatGPT, we always use prompts. So saying things like act as a digital marketer or act as a content creator, create a content plan, a yearly content plan for, and then your website in, and it'll give you some ideas on what January to December looks like. Ask it to regenerate multiple times. Some of them are good, some of them are terrible, but also have other people in. And when you see a great idea that works, you go, yes, take that one. The ones that look terrible, just ignore. So content calendars help you set your plan for the year. And then in content, everyone's using it in content. Google hasn't caught up. You can beat Google at the moment if you want to use it for content, get your site ranked. I don't know where that goes in a year from now. Even universities haven't caught up. Like people can use ChatGPT to do their exams to get a great grade. I always think you do the right thing. Even though you can beat the system right now, using that, eventually it's not going to work. It is making it more efficient, as the guys have said, like great creative, really speaking like personalization, use it to make your business more efficient, but don't try and game the system. I think eventually that won't pay off. Another good way we've found in smaller businesses, you can say after this digital marketer, create a campaign structure for Google Ads, create a list of keywords for Google Ads, and add copy for my website. So you can put that in, and I advise like smaller businesses to do this yourself. Like don't put it to an agency. You're going to get better than probably 60% of agencies using this now. When you get bigger, you probably will need a really quality company to like hit that top level. But as a business owner, start build these things yourself, so you know how they work, you know what's important. And then a thing Matty Lane over here put in was, if you got an agency, ask it how to keep or monitor. What should I be asking? What should I, ask ChatGPT like as an advisor? What question should I ask my agency? What should they be delivering? What is good results? Like whatever questions you have, if they give you some jargon that doesn't sound right, put them in there, like a trusted advisor to, get the best results.
Wow, some fantastic advice and real honest and open, right? So, obviously, Chris is saying you don't need to use an agency. You're small, and he comes from a marketing agency. So, thank you very much for that honest feedback, right? But had some real great tips there. Thank you.
So now you're becoming an AI agency.
Where you got to constantly evolve. No, I honestly think if you want to be, and the way these models work, you got to be in the top 4 in your industry in the world to be the best. And AI is not going to get you to the top 4, but when you're starting out, it'll get you to the benchmark.
Yeah, it was great. Good round insights. I think that you. So yeah, I'm sure people are already on their phones or walking tonight, asking Google as a trusted advisor. But I also really like the analogy of the graduate.
Yeah.
Right. And the graduate is not going to complain when you ask them to do the same thing again and again. So it's true. So bad, but
For everyone's knowledge as well, Google does have an AI. It's called Bard, B-A-R-D. So if you're only using OpenAI's ChatGPT, explore BARD by Google. It's their competing AI platform. It's better in some elements. It's connected to the internet. It gets real-time data.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously been a plethora on ChatGPT's grab the headlines, but they're not the only one there. Very quiet. Adrien, last but not least, things for the question. Similar to marketing, I guess accounting, we've spoken about briefly already, building an industry that's probably right for the disruption, middle using calculators and then until moved online. And that's something to be said for the old art of bookkeeping, but obviously it's been revolutionised already. Where do you see the industry going for accountants? And then do you have a sense for how your customers feel about where it's going for your industries and specifically?
So in terms of the industry, we're seeing very sparkled initiatives here and there, but there is no big trend in the middle. I guess most of the accountants, close to 90% of them are just looking at the news, seeing this ChatGPT thing, but they don't really know how to use it. Some people actually start to use marketing, to use it on marketing, but no one has really cracked it to actually use it for their own operations. And if you look at the accounting industry, we're just a data-based industry. So every day, we used to actually do bookkeeping for elections. So actually, 2 years ago, we launched a project to automate the bookkeeping. We realized that every year we were like processing around 1 to 2 million like bookkeeping entries, and that was like, a way to fast track the graduate to go from the zero to like PhD in bookkeeping in no time actually. So now we have that app actually that do not like runs. And right now our bookkeepers, I like to say that they are air traffic controllers. So they just like look at the bookkeeping entries like going in the right lines. And right now we still don't feel like confident in actually releasing it to the wild. Because obviously if I mess up your tax return, you're really going to be mad at me. And I just want to control that risk of now we still have like a human layer at the very end. So that allows us to actually be faster in terms of delivery, and also to bore less our people. No one at stake right now does like when they're bookkeeping, everything is automated. So the time that they can actually spend during their day advising clients, answering emails and providing like great value service is far higher than like 2 years ago. So that's pretty cool. And then because everybody is giving tips, so it's fun because we have the same tool as Edward actually developed for the customer service, but we use it for sales. So because the privacy laws are so stringent in actually recording any conversation, so we're only recording the sales side of things. And then I just want to understand whether like the team has mentioned that all the services has pitched in the right way, and then we connect it to our CRM. And at the end we did the conversations where everything was pitched perfectly with a great conversion rate, and then we actually use these bits and pieces for the training purpose. So now we've got a library of around like 30 discussions that are like top notch, and every new joiner actually that comes with us has to listen to all of them, and sometimes like watch because we have the camera. And these are like pitches that are perfect and that have been like curated by the AI, and we just use them. Another one is actually to use the data that you have in email exchanges. So we created a box like 6 months ago that replaces company secretaries. So the people that are in charge of your governance. So we employed it close to like 3 years worth of like email exchange of resolutions, annual returns and so on. So super exciting and really sexy topics. We are putting that into GPT-4, and we're starting to actually ask questions to that AI. And right now we get like close to 90 to 95% worth of in terms of accuracy. Yep. And that's genius, because then all the call sec that are like struggling to write emails, writing replies that are sometimes like stressing out, they are like very much looking forward for this AI to actually come, because they're just going to like remove all the boring part of their work and have them like only focus on high added value services.
What's your call recording software?
The call recording?
Yeah.
So we developed it internally actually, and it's again the same recipe with a different twist at the end.
Wow, who would have thought that an accounting firm has got such advanced sales strategies?
It's launching a new product soon. It's called a call recording as well.
That's a good plug. Yeah, fantastic, and certainly we want our accountants to be accurate, because not only will we not be happy with you, but we'll be happy for a jail. So I like that approach of working on that internally before you sort of obviously release it out, test and load, and obviously with those success rates that you're getting, that's fantastic. So thank you, Chairman. Thank. Just to last one was a couple of tips you've already had, but more so I guess for Edward and Scott haven't had a chance to perhaps tell us their tips with Glamour, and hand over to yourselves for any last tips before we open it up to the audience for some questions.
Yeah, I think that some of the other tips as well are like, in the business itself, you don't necessarily need to use AI for every single function. Don't necessarily think about it as like everyone has to use an AI. Look at it as more like who's doing a lot of analytics, who's doing a lot of manual data entry, who's doing a lot of research. Those are the fundamental areas where an AI is going to improve your capabilities. So being able to research information, analyze data, be down and set trends in data sets as well is very strong for AI. It's not going to be something that like someone in a warehouse just picking boxes off a shelf is going to use. That's a robot. It's a different sort of technology. So you've got to make sure you're applying the right technology to the right problem or the right business unit to be able to solve it. Because giving everyone access to AI is not going to necessarily enhance every business unit that you work with. The other tip I'd say as well is play with it yourself personally, in your personal life. to do basic stuff, writing a birthday card, writing an email, Googling about your next purchase of a car, any of that stuff before you go and like design how to run your business on it. Because the most important thing is learning how to prompt. You need to ask the right input to get the right output. And it's almost like Google was 10, 15 years ago when you had to actually understand how to Google, how to ask the right question to find the right data. ChatGPT is exactly that intimacy of its growth curve. You can talk in plain English, but if you ask the wrong question, you will get the wrong answer. And you will win.
That's cool. And that's happened to me. So I'll answer the question a little bit differently. I think the apart from all the stuff that's happening now, I think the next frontier for AI is going to be productivity. So right now, AI is being used quite reactively. It's like, tell me about stuff, helping me stuff. And I think the once everyone is doing that kind of thing, is we're using AI to be proactive with our businesses. So like if you're an e-commerce platform or an e-commerce business, I should say, then you want to proactively offer benefits or solutions or products, or you want to proactively trigger discounts or something based on the user profiles and that kind of stuff. I think that's going to be the next thing that people are going to be looking at, but I haven't seen that anywhere right now. So
Square offers behavioral profiling based on users, just as a plug.
Nathan, like square.com.au. Square.com apparently. It's a perfect case, right? You have this omni-channel sort of business, right? Taking them sort of in-person, online, intuitive and combined, predictive experience. So, I mean, it's certainly, maybe just going a little bit further on that. I don't mind giving you a plug. For those that are in commerce or retail, and they're still in the audience here, probably be quite worthwhile for them to understand that.
Yeah, so definitely have to talk about that a little bit. It's not necessarily AI based, but it's just more around omni-channel business. So meeting your customer where they want to pay, where they want to buy. It doesn't matter if you're an SME, mid-market, enterprise customer, you should be doing this. You should be allowing your consumer or your business customer, whatever category you're in, your buyer should be able to meet the seller where they want to buy, when they want to buy, pay how they want to pay. So whether it's e-commerce online, it's on an app, it's in person, it's via an invoice, whatever mechanism you're doing, you need to offer the right payment methodologies, you need to operate the right terms to the customer to be able to engage with you. And like you can use an AI to learn more about that in the market, but just more broadly, what we do as a commerce partner for businesses is enable customers to meet the buyer where they want to buy it, when they want to buy it, and how they want to buy it. If you're missing a conversion opportunity, you're losing business to your competitor.
Right. There were another one again for the client. Happy to finish on that note before we open it up to the audience.
Oh, the only thing I'd say is just what Scott said about playing with ChatGPT or playing with AI, I think is the most important. Sometimes with your business, it feels heavy and it feels like a new technology or something you need to know. But if you're playing with it for suggesting a birthday message or a birthday card and getting comfortable with it in places that have no kind of downside or no massive risk, then you get used to it just like a kid. So I think that's what kids pick technology up really quickly. They don't have that risk. So that, I think, is such a great insight that resonates with me.
Thank you. Edward and Nigel, the last comments,
like everybody else, we all started with a ChatGPT account, just like trying to use it in our everyday lives. And we also did a hackathon like a month ago. One subscription per team, 1 weekend, locked into a room. And after, honestly, it was mind-blowing what actually people, 25 years old, came up with in terms of ideas and craziness. But so I'm really scared and excited by what's coming up actually in terms of innovation, because it goes quite far.
The key takeaway is lock your staff in a room, give them ChatGPT.
is a ring and long now.
Anyway, so some water,
That would be, just, can't reach too short. Yes.
What are we talking about?
When they ask always
Okay, right.
business or
People in a room. Yes, lock everyone in a room. With ChatGPT. That
efficiency.
No, I think that maybe one of the themes that's kind of emerged here is that we still need people, and we still need people for creativity.
Yep.
We need people to do things that only humans are really, really good at.
Communicate.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think that's ever going to go away. So, like, there are always going to be tools to do things that are boring, like accounting. Inside.
No, I'm fine with that. I've been a boring business, so yeah.
And if it's boring for the person, someone else can do it, right?
Yeah. But for what I see in the future, probably in the near future, is that everyone's content marketing is going to be exactly the same because they're just using ChatGPT to create content. And maybe a danger with this, which I don't know how is going to be addressed, is that we have AIs consuming content that's being generated by AI. Yeah, so it's kind of like a snake that's eating itself. And that's where humans are going to excel, right? So anyway, were we getting plugs? Can I give a plug? So cool. We're a custom software development agency. I said that before. What we do though isn't just create software. Where we add value is coming up with ideas to solve problems. So, you come to us and you go, I need a thing. And we'll go, no, you actually don't need that thing. You need this thing. So that's where we add value. And if you want to talk about AI in the community after this, then I will say you don't need AI. You need something else. But yeah.
I also solve problems as well, mostly related to doing the business and collecting money. Let's jam.
That's right. Thank you very much. I mean, it's been a great, open conversation, and half of that was not scripted. So, just so you know.
They won. Look at the questions he sent us.
So, but a great conversation. Thank you for sharing so openly as well.